Welcome to the show we like to call For the Love of Real Estate, where we dive into what it means to buy or sell a home in today's world. Join host Jill Elliott, Dallas broker associate and former radio personality, as she marries her two loves, radio and real estate. She's going to have you asking yourself, for the love of real estate, should I tackle my fears and buy, rent, sell, or remodel?
Hello and welcome to this episode of For the Love of Real Estate. If you're listening and have not subscribed or followed, as they say now, please show some love and do so. It is totally free, y'all. And this is a lifestyle podcast talking about all aspects of real estate. And I'm so excited about today's show because it's all about something I pretty much suck at, and that is decorating. So please welcome industry experts who also have their own podcast, Inside Design, with Kandrac and Kole, Joann and Kelly. Hello, ladies.
Hi, Jill.
Hi, Jill.
Hi, you guys. How are you?
We are so good. It's a rainy day in Atlanta, but we're busy, and we're just sitting in our own podcast studio. So it's nice to, hook into you. So,
well, listen, I really appreciate you guys jumping in and talking to me. You guys were also voted one of Atlanta's top residential interior designers by the Atlanta Business Chronicle, and a whole lot of other accolades, which we'll be getting into. But of course, this is a 30-minute show. You guys are that good and that popular, and that's why I'm so glad you're here, because this particular show is being recorded in the fourth quarter of 2021. So I think what's on a lot of people's minds is what's coming up for 2022. So, for example, let's start with the paint colors. What do you guys think?
This is very timely because we just had Sue Wadden, who's the color marketing director for Sherwin-Williams, on our show on Tuesday. It hasn't even aired yet. And we talked all about what's coming for 2022 and then the color of the year, which is called Evergreen Fog, which is a grayish kind of a green.
Okay, so we're like slowly getting away from the gray. Is that what you guys are kind of saying? Like where we're
definitely are.
We definitely
are.
Yeah.
You guys remember, I'm in Chip and Joanna land over here. Okay. Okay.
Well, a lot of people are. That's why there are forecasts, because it takes you kind of out. And one of the interesting things about these colors were that if you do have gray walls, because not everybody can, change as quick as the trends change.
Sure.
A lot of these colors will go well with the grays. So if you go on to Sherwin-Williams, who we're big fans of, the new colors, it's called Mode, MODE, and you can view those on their website.
There's 42 of them.
Yeah, there's 40 new colors.
So we talked a lot about how the bone whites, kind of the taupey, creamy tans are coming back, or tans that have a little tiny bit of a gray tone to them, like Accessible Beige, or another one is Eider White, that where they partner really well with the grays. So if you want to start mixing, in your home and still be, current, that's an easy way to do it.
And this is kind of interesting too, because a lot of people had their whole houses painted and the ceilings. And if the one thing that's the most expensive thing to have everybody paint and, remove that popcorn from is the ceilings. So I'm thinking maybe if somebody wanted to redo something, they could leave that gray in the ceiling. And could they do that? Could they go ahead and maybe do their walls like that type of green with that hint of gray in it? That might kind of work, so they don't have to do the whole house.
Just a hint. I mean, I wouldn't want it to be real gray.
I mean, I'm assuming that they do have gray on their ceilings, which I would be surprised if anybody actually did that. But
you know what I mean.
Like when they paint the ceiling is bad. But like, for example, in my house, I have Sherwin-Williams Repose Gray throughout my entire house. But I have a very bright, colorful house with a lot of original art. And so that's a very, very light gray, and it's a wonderful backdrop. On my ceiling, I actually put Eider White, which is a white, but it has the tiniest hint of gray in it. So I could easily leave my ceilings and change my walls if I wanted to, really to anything, because it's just an easy neutral. Yeah. If it was a darker gray, might not look so great, but
it might seem to weigh it down a little bit, right? Is that what you're kind of saying?
Probably would. Would.
I got you. Well, I was looking at you guys' website. Go ahead and tell me what it is. You know it.
It's Kandrac, Kandrac -Kole.
.com.
.com. Well, you guys show some amazing blues. It's my favorite color right now. It has been for a long time. And I love how you use those blues they just make the room pop.
Well, it's funny because a lot of people will say, I want to be able to make this house sellable, so I don't want to do anything too crazy. I don't want to paint, want to do the walls all neutral. And I think that's okay sometimes, but if something is very well done, I don't think it has to be neutral.
I don't either.
Yeah. If you have a good, if you have a good eye or you've had a designer and you have a navy blue ceiling, that wouldn't scare somebody if it was done really well with all the other furnishings and things like that.
Exactly. And, it's kind of like that wow factor, which is kind of something else I, will kind of do throughout the show, because I think that you notice when people do walk in on these shows or television or whatever, they go, wow. And I do it too, because being a realtor, when I walk in, I want to see their face light up. Because if I'm not seeing it, there's all kinds of, maybe it's the way they decorate or maybe not, or the floor plan, but you want to see that wow factor. And I think that's what these touches of color are doing now, because for so long, everything was, we want clean lines and this, but these pops of color, I think, is sort of what brings it out for the home, whether you're going to live there or you're going to sell it.
Yeah, I think a lot of people will say to us when, we're like, okay, what are your wants? What are your needs? And like, well, I want to be able to walk in for people to go, wow. Yes. And that's the same thing kind of when we're doing model homes. You want people to walk in and you want them to remember something about that. So if somebody's going to look at 5 or 6 homes, they might remember that little keeping room that was an emerald green or something like that. If they walked into 5 houses and they were all neutral, they might not stand out.
We always tell our clients that the thing that scares them the most will be the thing that they're most excited about when it's all done. And it's true over and over and over again. So
I've done that.
We see it on our Instagram page when we post images that are really outside of most people's comfort zone, whether it be pink or, a navy blue or whatever it may be. If it's bold, we will get the most likes of anything else. If we put something neutral and safe on no matter how well done it is on our Instagram page, people will still like it, but they won't go bananas over it. So I think people just need to have the guts to step out a little bit. And that's what we help our clients do, because they trust us to do that for them.
Yeah. And if anybody does go to your website or Instagram or Facebook or whatever, they will see what exactly we're talking about, because we have to paint a picture here with the whole radio podcast thing, right? But you guys do that so well. And something else I noticed, and I did send you guys a couple of kitchens. One's very, very, normal, grayish, those kinds of things. And then the other one has some pops of color. And also the ceiling is done. You might not be able to see that very well. And I noticed on your websites, you are doing a lot with ceilings. And it doesn't necessarily have to be paint. I've noticed that it's wallpaper, or I don't know if y'all draw or what, but they're fantastic. And it just gives a whole dimension to the room.
Yeah, I think that's one way that you can probably describe our designs, are neutrals with pops of color. And usually when people have looked at our website or if they've stalked us on social media, we'll say, well, what did you see that you really liked? And they just said kind of neutral with the pop of color, because you're not really committing too much. If your bones are neutral, you can always add. And that's what people say sometimes. What can I do that doesn't cost a whole lot of money that I can really, and it'll be pillows, it'll be lighting, it'll be wallpaper, rugs. Yeah, things where you can just add to the neutrals to give it a pop.
What do you guys think about wallpaper? It's not just coming back. I think it's been back.
Oh my God.
That is hard for people to get out of their comfort zone and do it, don't you think?
Well, I started out working in a wallpaper store, and I remember there's this PTSD because builders never primed the walls. And so whenever people bought a home that had the wallpaper, you might have the stripe at the bottom, the floral at the top, the border around the middle, and then people would
start to shiver.
Oh my God.
I start to shiver just you talking about it.
And so people would go to take that down, and they would take it off piece by piece. And so usually it was the men. They were like, we're never doing wallpaper. But they've come a long way. People prime walls now, and wallpaper is just so much different than it was before. The patterns are so much bigger. The colors are, we love wallpaper.
If we see a powder room or a laundry room without wallpaper, we start to cry. I mean, it's just an integral part of our projects, for sure.
Well,
we love wallpaper.
Because I think it also shows a little bit of personality too, right? I mean, for people when they walk in, especially like you guys said, in a small place, a laundry room or a cute little bathroom or a powder room or your little check yourself area in your foyer, maybe. It just seems like it needs something because, like, do you guys think that you guys probably do a lot of different areas, right, in your decorating? Because I noticed on your website as well that you guys also have like e-designs and consultations. So if people are calling you from other places, let's say Dallas, there's do you think that those are the differences? Because I lived in Atlanta for 10 years in the Alpharetta, Johns Creek, whatever they're calling it now, area. And I do kind of see some differences, but yet a lot of similarities too. We have a little more of the cowboy look, but other than that.
Yeah. And I think if people are really good about explaining what they like, I mean, there's so much out there now between Houzz and Pinterest and Instagram that, the days of taking a magazine and, dog-earing the pages, those days are gone. It's so much easier to be able to show what you like.
But I do think that the aesthetic and the client requests do change geographically, but if you just look in the design magazines that are nationwide, you'll see wallpaper everywhere. You'll see there's certain trends that are nationwide for sure.
Definitely. And I think wallpaper is one of them. And as we said, it's also the feel of the wallpaper too. It's the quality that I don't think we had back then that we have now, right?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. For sure. I mean, the quality is fantastic, whether it could be just a solid texture. It could be a stripe. It could be a wild pattern. I mean, the colors and the artistic value of wallpaper is, it's come a long way.
And get back to kitchens a little bit. Like, for example, like in one picture that I sent you, they've got those big chill. My sister, she's amazing. The big chill kind of that kind of appliances and a very colorful appliance with then, of course, the white cabinets and that using the appliances as the pop of color, and then a little bit on the ceiling, and of course the pendant lights. But I think that's actually pretty cool. I think it just brings in the personality of that person or that family.
Absolutely. I know we did a kitchen that, just was all white cabinets, and they had just a regular pantry door. So we changed it to one of those kind of curved pantry doors, and we painted it a blue. And that just that one thing that we did without really making anything else really kind of crazy. We get comments about that all the time. So there's little things that you can do.
Well, and I think also after, spending a year at home, and if COVID didn't teach us anything, it taught us that two things. One, our home is our respite. Our home is our sanctuary. And two, we have one life to live, and it could be gone tomorrow. So unless you're planning on moving, within a year or two, make it your own. Don't be afraid to add these personality, pops and pieces.
I agree. And, because I've had clients, especially when they do a new build, they walk in and they think that they're going to see the model home, right? Like, no, because furniture and all that doesn't come with it. Okay. But, I have to get them to thinking, you have to put your own touch on the house. You have to do pictures from your travels or furniture that you might see somewhere in an antique store or something like that. You have to put your own touches into the home. That's, I think, what makes a home great.
Absolutely. We've walked into many homes that look like they just came out of like a furniture showroom. And those places don't feel like they have any soul, any personality. It is the families that have traveled or who have where they've collected over time, or they've inherited some older furniture that they might have painted. They may have had an old rocking chair, but they painted it pink and put it in their kids' room. So those are the kinds of things that I think that are really cool. A lot of times people think that what they have is kind of junky, but you can kind of funk it up a little bit and make it cool.
And speaking of that, like my husband, I sent you the china cabinet I have an antique dining room set and he hates it. Okay, let's just get that out of the way. And except it was my grandmother's and it's the original ball and claw, chairs. And I had them appraised, 100 years ago. And I think it was done in 1951. But I had it appraised and each chair was worth $900 at that time. Don't know what it's worth now. But, and it's kind of that inlay stuff. It's kind of brown or, you know what I mean? So I don't think you could paint it. But what do you do?
We had this exact situation just last week with a client with her grandmother's stuff. And what we advised her to do was for her table, we're going to reupholster the seats just to give them some new jazz. And we're going to take away the 2 armchairs at the ends, the host and hostess, and replace them with upholstered chairs just to mix it up. Take those armchairs. We're still going to recover them. So she still has a set of 8 chairs, but they're going to kind of go up in the basement or, garage, and she'll pull them out just for parties and stuff. But for everyday use, we're going to warm up that table with upholstered chairs at each end. And then
what a great idea.
And then we just added a rug and window treatments and a lot of texture and color and we replaced her chandelier over the dining room table just so that the antiques stayed as they were, but then everything else got a big refresh. So it just started to work again because she had a newer kitchen and she had marble and white cabinets and this antique furniture was right up against it. So she needed some grit and some texture and, to soften everything up and make the 2 areas flow because they were just stark contrast to each other.
Definitely. Because I have seen people combine the antiques with the more modern. It's just how you do it, right?
That's exactly right. It does depend on how you do it. So, yeah, you're right.
So I thought that since this is kind of a real estate show or a big time real estate show, I would ask you guys some things that in case someone's listening that are wondering what to do about these particular things, decorating things in their home. And maybe you guys could give them, a yes or no. So for example, vertical shades.
You talking about like the kind?
Vertical. In an apartment.
Vertical blinds, like
shades. What am I saying? You know what I mean. I'm sorry.
Okay, that would be a no.
Yeah.
Okay.
I wouldn't. I
the
wouldn't
kind
care for that.
they used to put over the sliding glass doors. Those hanging vinyl things.
Yeah.
Absolute no.
Run. Change that.
Yeah.
If there's something you want to change to make a difference in the room, change that. You don't have to do anything else. That'll work. What about mirrors on closet doors?
I don't mind that. It depends on if they're a focal point. Are they hidden down a hallway?
I can also say I don't see them much.
I have them in my house. I have 2 20-somethings that don't live at home anymore. But when they did, they always had to have a full-size mirror. And I put them on the back of their doors.
Wait, are you talking about
you know what I mean?
Sliding, you're talking about a sliding door.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I don't see that very much.
I don't either. I feel like it's kind of hotelish a little bit. You see those in some hotels, but it wouldn't be my preference.
And mirrors on the ceiling, probably not either, right? Just if we're going to go there with that.
Maybe if you're in Vegas, baby, but no thanks.
Oh, yeah. I know. I really want my bedroom. I tell my husband, I want a Vegas vibe in my bedroom. Kind of the...
Ooh, girl.
Wouldn't that be
fun? Probably would love that.
Yeah, I know, right? It'd be so fun. What about, I know you guys are going to love this. The no fussing, no cussing quotes on walls. What about that?
I'm kind of over them, but...
Yeah. But I do think some of them are cute. Yeah. It depends.
I think it depends on what they are. I have a few at my lake house, but they were custom made for me. And they're not kind of the live, laugh, love, which I would die if I would never. But
yeah, I got you.
I think some are cute and appropriate. It just depends on where it goes. But not 10 in a house. 1 or 2 max.
Yeah, right. Because then you just feel like you're reading all the time. I mean, you got your phone to read on. You got your walls.
Kitschy.
Yeah, I got you. And what about where are we with backsplashes? Should they be mosaic? Should they be still subway? Should they be a little something something? Should they be a focal point? Backsplashes in kitchens, I think, really are important, and they make a statement. So,
absolutely. I think kind of like the stick mosaics are kind of out. I think
Matchsticks, kind of.
Yeah, that matchstick kind of look. I think that's kind of out. Subway, I mean, there's little takes on Subways that you can do. I kind of like maybe the colored one versus the white with the black grout. There's some cool shapes.
Colored grouts mixed with your more staple colors, hand poured edges, so that longer. Not the 3x5, but maybe the 2x9, or different sizes.
Gotcha.
The thing is that what's out there right now in stone and tile and all the quartz and granite and so forth is so amazing that I would spend some time thinking about your backsplash, because like you said, they are a real focal point and they can be amazing. I would pick which one is amazing though. So for example, if your countertop has a lot of movement and a lot of color, go easy on your backsplash, and then vice versa. We're not seeing as much of like the travertine and the kind of the pitted stone like we used to.
That kind of Tuscan look. No.
We're seeing a little bit more of marbles mixed with maybe a matte stone. So, and that's another thing with those kind of things. Not everything now is polished. You'll see a lot of countertops and a lot of backsplashes that are honed, which is more of a matte finish. And that's really where we tend to go for when we're making selections. We do a ton of selections for remodels and new builds, and we tend to gravitate towards those.
Yeah, and there is not a better, more wonderful feeling, because I do it often. Of course, not so much now with the way builders are and how they can show us homes these days, at least in my area. But when you walk into a model home, I just want to know who did that. Right. You guys do amazing decorators that decorate model homes. That's why I like you guys. You guys do this kind of stuff, and these are the people you want on your team. I mean, there is nothing better than going into a model home as a builder, right?
Well, you don't know what you don't know if you're not in this world and you're not in this industry. You don't know. So when you see it, then you're like, oh, I get it now. Yes, I want that. So
now, this is a crazy question too, though, because this is something relatively new. What about wrapping appliances? Have you guys heard of this, or painting them? Or I'm seeing this a lot where people will take a white appliance and wrap it.
I have absolutely no experience with that.
Yeah, well, I don't. You haven't heard of that or seen it?
We do a lot of luxury kitchen remodels, and in those cases, the clients want their appliances integrated, i.e., paneled like the cabinet, so you don't see them. But it's an interesting concept with color and pattern. I've seen it, but we haven't done it in our clientele
hasn't asked for that.
I just think it's such an interesting sort of concept, because I would have never thought of that. That would be the last thing I would think about. If I have an old appliance, I would just get a new one.
Who does this? Who does this for you? Is this a DIY thing, or is there companies that do it?
It's pretty interesting. I'm not quite sure, but I didn't know if you guys had any insight on it.
No.
We were talking a little bit earlier about like enjoying, when you decorate, that you enjoy it. Now again, I'm in the business of buying and selling, but I do always tell people, especially when they move in, try to do some things sooner than later, because you should enjoy it. Because if you try to do it a month before you think you're going to sell, then you're not going to get to enjoy it, and you'll feel like you don't get your money back.
But one of the things that I think, we're talking about designing and decorating, that is all great, but function, I think when people are looking for homes too, they are looking at the function. They're looking at storage and all that kind of thing. My daughter just bought a house, and the people that had lived there prior, I think, thought it was going to be their forever home, and then they got transferred. But they did so many great things in using storage, like under the stairs, and building extra storage. And I think, to me, that's kind of I think storage is a luxury. And so when you're redoing your kitchen stuff, of course you want to pick, beautiful things. But I think adding some great storage is a sell, in itself.
Definitely a sell point. Absolutely. When you have storage, it is definitely. So if you're thinking about maybe remodeling or doing something, then maybe that might be something you think about doing. because it does add value, especially. And you know what I like is that storage under staircases, and people put a big dog run under there, like their little doggy cage. Instead of having the big.
People love that. People love that kind of thing.
Do you guys see a lot of like dog washes? I know in my neighborhood, a lot of people have some dog washes. Why I didn't put that in my house, I will never know when I built it.
Yes.
I'm the biggest dog person on the planet.
A lot of them in the laundry rooms.
A lot of dog washes. And the other thing we're seeing now is a washer dryer upstairs and downstairs.
Oh,
so, in an extra little laundry room, in even stackable in a hallway. But when you've got a house of kids, or you've got we in Atlanta, we have a lot of new builds that are going up, and they have 2 and 3 floors with elevators, and so nobody wants to traipse all the way up and down with laundry. So, but it doesn't need to take up a lot of space. It doesn't need to be a full laundry
in
room.
my house. Well, and to help people who don't understand, certain areas just have different, like in Atlanta, a lot of people have we had a full basement that was daylight. So you walk, 2 doors, tons of windows, and that's where you walked out to get to the pool and stuff. And if there was a laundry room down there, because this house was probably built in 95 or something, so it did not have an elevator. Then there were 3 floors.
But how great to just dry towels.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
That's what I see as like how is this going to affect? How's this going to affect me daily?
Especially after spending a year at home, we're all realizing
exactly. Oh, for sure. And so since let me just go with this. Like, if you're going to update to sell, what's like, I want to do kind of a big item and maybe a little small item that you guys might help someone. So let's say you had a client that had a great house and you decorated it a few years ago and it still looks great, but they walked in and they said, we just need a little something, or what's a project that maybe might be good? Like maybe the dog wash, I would think might be a good addition, or like you said, storage. What would be something that maybe they could add to their wow factor? Would it be something when they came through the foyer, or, something in the backyard? Oh, that's a whole, I could talk all day about backyards, stuff like that.
I think lighting, if they haven't already done that, I think lighting, we've been in some pretty amazing homes, high ticket homes, and they still have those hallway boob lights. Oh. And those have got to go.
They drive me crazy.
Gotcha, I'm with you.
Drive us crazy. And they're not a big ticket item to spend. But I think lighting is a big one.
And you probably know this, but I know from all the houses I've built that people don't want to already start envisioning what they have to do or the money they have to spend to update it. So if the kitchen and the bathrooms are not remodeled already, and I'm going to sell my house in a year or two, I would do a simple remodel of the key spaces, because that's what everybody is looking at. And it's the thing that they just can't handle if they're not in the business, or they like, oh my God, how are we going to deal with that? Updating those that kitchen, the bathroom. I don't know how to do that, So if it's done even simply and well, but that is a bigger ticket item. But I think a fresh coat of paint and new lighting is the very first thing that I don't know if I would go, and besides outdoor, because I think everybody can appreciate some outdoor living, especially after last year. I don't know, the new owners might not have a dog, so I don't know how fancy you want to get.
Sure.
But outdoor living for sure. I think the statistics show that kitchen and bath remodels and outdoor living, putting your money there will give you a good return on your investment.
The other thing I would say, just overall, have your front door freshly painted.
Yeah.
And
the lights on either side.
The side lights on the side, don't have them be like corroding and too small. So that immediately when somebody walks up that walkway, even when we're going to a new consultation, we can already have a feel, sort of like what the inside's going to be like. Because if the outside is really well taken care of, we went to a house the other day that had beautiful chairs on the porch. These moms, everything looked fresh and clean. No idea what we were walking into, but we had a pretty good feeling. So I think as a home buyer, when you're walking up there and there's weeds and the door is kind of cracking and the paint isn't fresh and whatever, your immediate feeling is not a good one.
And it's kind of like, well, what else isn't done, right? Like
exactly.
What else isn't
what
done?
lurks behind these walls?
And you know, I think that there was a time, because I lived it, where if the carpet was dirty, well, that's the way it was. You bought the house, right? Because real estate was not an investment. It was just where you lived. But now I think it's an investment, but it should always be higher than that on your list. As you guys were talking earlier, this is where you come home to. This is you know, the soul. This is important. And if you make it important, somebody else is going to think it's important. Right?
Absolutely. And they'll pay more.
Yeah.
And you're right. You are exactly right. You guys, I have had such a blast with you guys. Oh, one more thing though. Your e-design and consulting services, because you can do that all over the world, really, right?
Yep.
Oh, yeah. They can just go to our website, kandrac-kole.com, or look us up on all of our social media platforms, our Kandrac Kole. You'll see a lot of activity on Facebook and Instagram, as well as our podcast, which is Inside Design with Kandrac and Kole.
And it's great.
You can find
do a lot of, we do several podcasts where we answer design questions, and that's really one of our most popular. And it's a lot of the questions like, what do I do about a popcorn ceiling?
Ooh.
And so, so we get a lot of people that write in or call in and ask questions, and that's a really popular one too. So if people like this kind of thing, they can listen to those.
Absolutely. Well, will you guys maybe come back sometime? Because I'd love to. I could go on all day about backyards too. I mean, you know, here we go, or whatever. But I really think that the a good takeaway for people is lighting is everything, right? And that curb appeal. I mean, that's huge.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yep.
Well, you guys have been a dream, and
well, thank you for inviting us. It was an honor. We loved chatting about this kind of stuff.
Oh, I could do this all day. So you guys will have to come back. So if you
problem.
will, I would love to have you. You guys, please visit them, Kandrac and Kole, Kandrac-Kole.com. And then you are all on the social media platforms as well. You guys are on Apple Podcasts and all that jazz too. I mean, they are amazing. Go to their website. You will not be disappointed. Again, thanks so much for joining me. Please subscribe or follow for the love of real estate. We need all the love we can get right here. So if you need a home in Dallas or the Metroplex, let me know. 469-500-1300 or visit my website, JillElliottHomes.com.
Thanks, Jill.
Thank you for tuning into For the Love of Real Estate. If you enjoyed today's show, head over to fortheloveofrealestate.biz to join the conversation, access the show notes, and sign up for our newsletter.